What about us? That was 30 years ago. Some of you remember this catastrophic event. An Exxon tanker hit a reef off the coast of Alaska. It spilled 11 million gallons of oil into the Prince William Sound. And at the time, it was the worst oil spill in the history of our United States. It had catastrophic impacts on our communities and across our ecosystems. But here's something else that it did. It inspired us to take bold action. Led by my dear friend Joan Bavaria, a pioneering investor who saw clearly that business as we knew it wasn't working. She knew we needed a more purpose-driven form of capitalism. And Joan knew addressing environmental, social, and governance issues was critical to a corporation's bottom line. She also knew that if we didn't act, we would suffer these disasters again and again and again. So Joan decided to do something about it. She brought together investors and environmentalists, and we began building the business case for integrating sustainability into capital markets. It seems obvious to us now. We've all talked about this, every one of us in this room, but at that time, it was a revolutionary idea. And let me tell you, when we first started talking with business leaders and investor leaders about environmental, social, and governance issues, they looked at us like we were from another planet. But we kept going. We banded together. We called ourselves the Coalition for Environmentally Responsible Economies. Now that's a mouthful for sure. Thankfully, someone told us to rebrand. Of course, you all know us as Ceres, and we do have a much cooler logo. Within just a few months, we crafted a groundbreaking code of conduct for companies around the world. And then we built what is now the mainstream practice of sustainability reporting. This little idea, GRI, hatched in a corner of the old Ceres office, is now used by more than 13,000 companies across every continent. And we then designed a roadmap for corporate sustainability, raising the bar, calling for integration, and redefining best practices from the boardroom all the way through to the supply chain. That is what we did together with every one of you. And that's what we will continue to do. Now, around that same time, another global threat was heating up. We all know it is climate change, and I'm going to zero in on this threat today, not because it's the only threat, but because it is the nexus of every sustainability issue we face, from water to heat to poverty to food. It is climate change. We knew early on that rising greenhouse gas emissions and warming temperatures were not just environmental threats, as if that weren't enough. They were financial threats, they were human threats, they were challenging the very future of our planet and our people. So Ceres set out to strengthen the business case, from reports to summits, to drafting the petition seeking SEC action on the financial risks. We went out, we met with regulators, with analysts, with rating agencies, with pension funds, of course, and with corporate boards. We called on stock exchanges to act and on insurance commissioners to lead. And fast forward to today, climate risk has become a mainstream financial concept. The risks are far more accepted. Just think, this month, 2 major central banks in Europe, they said if some companies and industries fail to adjust to this new world, they will fail to exist. Pretty sharp warning from bankers. And so our small coalition of investors and environmentalists is now a leading sustainability nonprofit with global reach and impact. We're now working with more than 340 global investors whose assets total well over $32 trillion, and hundreds of global companies to transform the economy. And together, with each and every one of you, we are a powerful group. We are a powerful group. And more of you are seizing the opportunities every day, seizing the opportunities embedded in this new sustainable economy. You're cutting emissions. You're setting science-based targets. You're electrifying your fleets, and you're managing your water footprint. You are innovating to make products more sustainable, and you are using fewer resources to do so. And things are starting to change. But to go back to the challenge, I'm here to remind all of us, it is simply not happening fast enough. You know, the World Economic Forum, hardly a group of bleeding heart environmentalists, told us as we were headed towards Davos, we are sleepwalking into catastrophe. And late last year, we learned from the world's top climate scientists that we need to keep our planet from warming by no more than 1.5 degrees Celsius. 1.5, not 2, but 1.5. Now, that difference might seem small to some. It's not just a half a point. I can assure you it is existential. It is the difference that determines whether or not dozens of the most vulnerable nations and cities will be inundated, washed away by rising seas, and whether or not millions of people live or die due to extreme heat, flooding, and hunger. And whether or not our global economy sustains itself for generations to come, or it doesn't. 1.5 degrees is achievable. Building an economy that values our ecosystems and all human beings is doable. It is within our reach. It has to be. No one says it will be easy. It will require an unprecedented, rapid transformation of every sector of our economy. And it will require bolder leadership and bigger thinking and audaciousness. And frankly, you are the leaders to make it happen. You give me hope. Consider the power that's in your hands. Consider your reach, your influence, and your capacity to innovate. And then imagine this. Imagine entire countries powered by low-cost renewable energy, or factories that don't pollute our waterways, or imagine electric vehicles leaving gas guzzlers in the dust for good, or imagine a world without fossil fuels. That is what the science is telling us is necessary to achieve a future that our kids deserve. You can put us on a 1.5 degree pathway. You have the power to make it a reality. In this room, we have people who hail from all over the world, and you touch every corner of the economy. But we can't act and win this battle with a one-by-one approach. We need to change our policies, change our regulations, and we need to change this debate. Some of you, many of you, are already calling for a price on carbon and other measures, such as the House bill this week that will be voted on this Thursday, a bill that would keep us in the Paris Agreement. That's a good start. And some of you are challenging your trade associations to stand up and support these positions, or not, you're pulling out of those associations. We need your big ideas. We need to think bigger than ever. Big ideas like the Green New Deal. And I know many of you don't like it, some of us like it, some of us don't. It's not perfect. But we finally, let's face it, we finally have the proposal that matches the scale of the challenge. It'll change, it'll morph, but it matches our challenge. And just look at what it has helped us to catalyze. Millions of people are speaking up, and they're demanding a fair shot at a future. And as we head into the 2020 presidential election, you can bet that climate change will be front and center. And it's no longer one party calling for change, as it can be. You'll hear from a former Republican Congress member tomorrow on why it can't be and why this is about all of us. Political leaders on both sides of our aisle are starting to wake up. This is not an R or D issue. It is about our lives. It is about all of us. It is about our future. Some might say what we're asking you to do is too big and too radical. But our problems are big and radical. Stealing our children's future, my children's future, is radical as well as unacceptable. We need to act and do something while we can. You all need to become the company that this generation wants you to be. And become the company that your customers and your employees and your investors trust you to be. And become the company that defines the 21st century and prospers in doing so. Ceres will be laser focused. We'll help you. We'll do what we can to align your business strategies with a 1.5-degree pathway. But in the end, it will be your leadership, your extraordinary leadership, your capital, your clout, your voices that are going to get us there. More private action can get us there. More ambition and commitments can get us there. You have the power to get us there. Thank you so much.